Okay. All right. Good day, Nigeria. Good day, Africa. Hello, everyone. So, this is I Fix Africa with Deji Aladejebi, the co-founder of Store Harmony Limited. So today we're going to be discussing the issue around how to fix the continent, how to fix the African continent using technology for sustainable cross-industry innovation in Africa. I say that again, technology for sustainable cross-industry innovation in Africa. Okay, so without too much of ado, I would quickly like to read the bio of our guest on the show for today, and I'll do that just right away. Ayodeji is the CEO and co-founder at Store Harmony Limited, a leading retail management technology company in Nigeria. He is passionate. He is a passionate technology entrepreneur and a creative thinker in business with technology field. On leaving NYSC, he worked in the telecom sector as a switch engineer and later moved to a private technology consulting firm, Naira.net Technologies Limited, in Abuja as a project manager, serving on teams to enable data management portals for Nigerian Meteorological Agency (NIMET) and the National Assembly. Prior to founding Store Harmony Limited, he served as chief software architect for Nigeria Electronic Labor Exchange, nelexnigeria.com. You can search that. For Federal Ministry of Labor and Productivity in 2011, and software consultant for National Primary Health Care Development Agency, where he developed a unique way to utilize SMS to gather primary health data. This was implemented nationwide to tackle primary health data crisis for Nigerian primary health care in 2013. Awesome. He started Store Harmony to help a friend tackle pilferage, pilferage and disorder in his business inventory, and since then, Store Harmony has grown to serve over 1,000 businesses since founding in 2014. I mean to say, he is a self-taught software developer with over 15 years experience and a self-taught businessman with over 10 years experience. He is the lead facilitator of Enterprise Development Workshop, ILEAP, for the self-influenced TBC community hosting aspiring entrepreneurs monthly. Okay. He holds a BSc in Electronics and Electrical Engineering from OAU Obafemi Awolowo University, diploma in TQM, Total Quality Management, India, nano degrees in accounting and computer science, covering areas in blockchain, data science, and enterprise information architecture. He is happily married with two kids. Okay, that's that about the bio. What an impressive bio. So I found out a number of things in this bio, and I think that will actually help our conversation as well. Okay, before we start and move on quickly, I would like to say welcome to everybody wherever you're joining in from. And this is I Fix Africa, where we are trying to fix the continent Africa, exploring the importance of thought leaders and captains of industries, what they have done and what they are still doing in the continent of Africa, and how we can, as individuals, can contribute our own quota too in our own little way. Okay, so welcome again, PDA. I would like to. I call him PDA. So if you don't know who PDA is, you can Google that. So it's a story for another day. So I'll just say PDA. I'll stick to that because I'm used to that already. So PDA, thank you once
It
again.
means it means
Welcome to
it means it means personal digital assistant.
no, 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 not your personal digital assistant. So you can Google that any other PD you can think, or you can reach me personally. So it's our code. After all, it's a word of code now. So
Nice one.
yes, sir. So welcome very much. Welcome so much, sir. Thank you for availing yourself.
Thank
Out of
you.
your busy schedule. I know how busy you can be on a daily basis. All right. Quickly we move on to we dive in so that we don't take too much of your time. So this should be like an opening thought. My opening thought would be to ask you, PDA, what do you consider at this time the most pressing need for the African continent? Like this is what Africa should be looking into right now and trying to focus on at this moment. What would you consider to be that to be?
Thank you, Tayo, for having me on the Shoot for Change Africa. I think it's a fantastic initiative, and I think it's also part of what Africa needs right now to do a whole lot of. We need to be driving conversation across board and getting every voice heard as much as possible. I think the fact why Africa is so unique is also because the slave trade essentially made it difficult for blacks to believe they can express themselves. And we have a history of suppressing voices. Slave traders, did not give us options, to really express ourselves. So I think one of the things that technology is helping, and what is going on right now is that there is
Please now.
the conversation is growing. The conversation is growing, and we are seeing a better Africa in terms of conversation. So what we need to create mediums like what you're doing to allow more Africans channel their voices in different directions and expect. So that's actually a beginning of a good step. So I really want to just salute what you're doing. I think it's a great initiative. So that's on
Yeah.
that. But in
Thank you,
terms
sir.
of in terms of the issue of what's the most pressing, that is, you know, that's a big question because of the fact that you know better experts, people that have gone ahead of us, uh, people that have run African banks, agricultural banks, presidents. They've all been asking this question since. I mean, if everyone knew what the problem was, what I mean is, why are we actually not putting everything inside into solving that? But if I'm just going to give a simple answer to that question, I think the biggest setback we have in Africa is education. Extremely poor educational system for in terms of when you look at an average African, we don't understand the connection between our culture as African to progress, to technology, to advancement. We don't understand the value, how to connect the value in culture, who we are, and then take advantage of that to create advancement in our lives. So as far as I'm concerned, Africa needs to pay attention to education. If you look at the facts, if you take Nigeria for example, you have over 30. We know that bulk of the our population, they are young people, well over 60%, actually well under the age of 25,
Yeah.
and have and I'm sure that well up to about 40% of that population are young and are children,
Yes,
well
sir.
under
Yes,
the age
sir.
of 7 years old and all that. And as I'm telling you right now, we have 30 million of those little children out of school, no formal
Okay.
education of any kind. And these are the kind of people we are injecting, putting into the system. So, if you're going to have a better Africa, I think we need to start looking at education. So that I will just give that straight answer. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So if we are to have a better Africa, we need to start looking at education. Okay, okay, and education, mind you, people, it's not just limited to educations within the four walls. Education cuts across a different sphere of influence and different industry. So education is key. We want to look at the broader spectrum. All right, thank you so much, PDK, PDA. Aha. So going through that, I would like to ask again. Because we are looking at technology today and as a form of cross industry approach or cross industry solution to a sustainable Africa. So, what would you say? How would you say how has technology contribute, to the development of the continent so far? Maybe for the past 5 years, how do you think technology has it really contributed to the development of Africa, and how has it contributed to the?
Okay, so the technology today is a bit very twisted in the way we understand it, because if you ask an average if you ask an average African young people what they understand about technology, they are, I think, essentially just going to tell you that they're essentially just going to tell you technology is some smartphones, some apps, and what have you. So
Yeah.
this essentially is limiting, of our understanding of technology. So that's one. But I think the more we realize that there is a lot technology has to do with the entire system, ranging from the people, the trainings, the equipping, changing the way we think. The more we start to understand that technology is just beyond smartphones and all those interesting things we see around, the better. So I think that Africa needs to look at technology differently. I will paint one very interesting analysis as to why the way tech now I've been in projects that failed. That's technology solutions that these solutions, they were functional. They were designed and they were functional. But when it now comes to the aspect of making it work, you realize that because what you're doing essentially threatens the way of life of certain parties that are
Okay.
involved, you know, they will you will realize that that solution ultimately is not going to work.
Won't see the
And
light of the day.
yes, so these
Okay.
are some of the challenges that technology has, in Africa, as regarding when we think about the technology solutions to problems. So it's beyond just the technology. It has to do with understanding who we are and how we can, let me just use that word, digitize who we are into the solutions that we are bringing on board. So there are actually a number of understanding there. But let me drop one very important thinking,
Okay.
before we move forward. Now, I realize that I realize that when you have a solution, let's take for
Okay.
example, um, if you have a solution to solve electricity in Nigeria without let's just imagine a kind of an imaginary invention of a generator that is powered by petrol, but does not require does not make sounds, okay?
Okay.
Or come up with a solution, let's say, that doesn't really even require petrol, and somehow able to power our lights.
Okay.
What you realize about that is actually technology in itself. But the key thing about that is that those kind of inventions actually really cost more to build, you know. And not just that, anybody that sees those kind of ideas, we occasionally see different ideas online as regarding some whiskey trying to generate power from urine, trying to do this and that. And then what you see is that, yes, there's a whole lot of buzz and social media noise around those kind of innovation. Then
Okay.
after some time, you really don't see that thing coming to market, and
I
that's
was going to say that. Okay, sir. I'm with you.
So you don't see those things coming to market. Now, there are a number of reasons as to why. First thing first is, of course, the existing systems have a lot of people interested in the inefficiency. But again, that I don't think alone is the reason why there is also problem, because we're also going to talk from the investment angle. But the analysis here is that when you look at the capital requirement for bringing crazy ideas, to for Africans. Now you look at a kind of because when you look at some of the basic infrastructure problem, we've talked about education, but why are we not able to solve education? There is
Okay.
there is there is there is still the underlying infrastructure problem. So even if you are thinking of technology to solve education, what happens in societies without light? What happens in societies without a telecom mast? What happens in those kind of places? So the draw here is that the collaboration to use technology to solve Africa's problem is actually quite massive and much more bigger than what one person can provide. So, but this is what I was trying to say. When you
Okay.
provide solutions that are expensive to build, you're going to have um, a challenge in bringing that solution into the larger market, for people to actually use, anyway. So that's not only
Okay.
the problem innovation is having, yes, because one is the cost, the capital involved in bringing new ideas, and not just the capital, but the difficulty in challenging the status quo, with your new idea. So these are some of the roadblocks, that technology is facing, in the system as we speak. Yeah.
Okay, okay, I hear you clearly, sir. So now that we need to start looking at innovations that won't cost us so much, that won't really make that is less capital intensive. If I should say, so if we are to do that, because you made a very salient point the other time, because when you do certain things and you see that the parties there are people who seems to look like how do I call it now? Like the power or the backbone of the society, or the the who is who kind of. So the idea that you are bringing forth, it doesn't get to see the light of day, because we see that every time on social media this guy is doing something, like you said, with Iran, with a number of things like that, and eventually everything just goes down the drain. So how do you think that we as individuals, so for instance, if I should have an idea, innovation in mind, and I want to go into. So, how best can I start? You said something about starting small and make sure it's not something that will be so capital intensive. But for me, I think a lot of technological advancement or innovation most times require capital a lot, and I don't know if that is just my opinion, but maybe that is what a number of people see too, and it's driving a lot of people off the technological the path. They don't want to tread that path because they feel it's expensive, and then the environment seems sometimes, most times, they feel like the environment is not right. So, how would you
Mm,
advise someone who wants to start that, even in the middle of this? How can you still try? Because I know you've done a number of things, and
yeah.
you've done almost all of them here in Nigeria, even though a lot of them are global exports, but you've done them here right here in Nigeria. So what would you advise, sir?
Okay. What I would tell any young innovator and anyone coming to the pool, of people trying to solve Africa's problem, is to give some time to you really thinking about the problem, because we often assume that we find ourselves at a time when everything is kind of fast food related, and because of that time that we find ourselves in, you see a whole loss of diligence, and people don't take time to understand the problem, and then to also kind of come up with a prototype to the problem they're trying to solve. So because
Okay.
we think big, it's okay to think big, but there has to be a whole lot of starting small. There has to be a whole lot of doing a lot of small things, to analyze the feedback on how getting data points, people's response to this idea, to that, if we do it this way, we do it that way, what are the outcomes, so there is a systematic approach to bring innovation and ideas to the market. But unfortunately, like we talk about capital, I said something as regarding the innovation. Like if you're trying to invent a generator that does not use petrol and does not make noise, and is not, and I'm not talking about an inverter or something where you have to, because when you look at even some of the power solutions, they give you a kind of a box. Yes, they tell you it's solar, but it only powers maybe a couple of lights. It can't even drive your AC or your fridge, and you see those kind of things. But as far as we are concerned in Africa, those are technology breakthroughs. But the painful part is that when you just look at Africans and then how we celebrate some of these things as technology breakthroughs, I also think it's a bit pathetic because we just looking at the fact that, okay, well, you don't trying to quantify these ideas and just giving Africa the basics and then expecting that, okay, yes, these basics are quite useful enough for Africa to actually, okay, just plug into the system. The real issue here is that there is no amount of innovation that you want to bring out that is ever going to replace your leaders, the African leaders, providing infrastructure for Africans, to use to grow. Because what happens with investment in infrastructure is that it will lower the costs of innovation for the young people. So, and what that means is that your American counterpart doesn't really need to start thinking about a generator that doesn't need fuel, because they don't need to think about that kind of problem. Yeah. So, and because a lot of the capital coming to innovation in Africa is also coming foreign, well, we're not realizing that our own people, our own leaders, we need to, believe in, we need to find a way to actually invest in ourselves, and look actually beyond the aspect of just a whiskey, coming out of somewhere and coming up with a particular invention. Because by the time you come up with that invention, like I said, it's expensive. Bringing it into the market is expensive. You still have to find ways to finance it for it to go, into the public. But those are just ad hoc. Those are just ideas, solutions in the midterm. But they are still not going to carry us, long term. Now, this is what I'm going to say when it comes to limit and now reducing the cost of innovation. Now, what happens is that every idea, definitely needs some form of investment, for them to work. But you also realize that there are significant investments that have been put into a lot of initiatives in Africa that doesn't really seem to be solving the problem, And then what you kind of start to see, you probably see ideas, okay, I mean, there's a whole lot of money transfer solutions you see in the market where people, one app for buying credit, for buying recharge, for sending money. And these are the things we call innovation,
Right.
There is nothing wrong in all of that. But when all the technology that we are thinking about in Africa, is focusing on that, we're actually dancing around the problem, Those things, yes, it's supposed to enable a world with infrastructure, to actually be more productive. But the infrastructure is not there. So you see everybody just designing very simple solution, simple apps, websites. Nobody is confronting the monster. So now, when it comes to trying to confront the monster, you're going to have a lot of tough time. Yes, you're going to have a lot of tough time because you're going to have to spend adequate time really understanding the process of, you're going to have to put a lot of people together to work together. Like I said, there is equity in terms of stakeholders, all the people that are supposed to be partners to make that thing work. The workflow itself, on the skill set, the know-how, the technical know-how, there's a whole lot of that goes into really making, real long-term solutions work. So there is a possibility that your idea may not, will find some tough time, coming on board quickly. Now, get my point. What I'm trying to say is that for you to create change in Africa, we need guys, we need people who innovate who are able to focus on small parts of big problems for the long term. So what that means is that if you're trying to build, yes, a comprehensive system, you there is a little bit of small parts to the big problem. Now we need committed innovators, entrepreneurs who can take the small part of the big problem and laser focus on that. What happens is that there's a very strong chance that you might not get the investment backing you need early enough, because most people investing are actually looking, that's when we invest in ourselves, we're looking for the fast way out. Nobody wants a kind of a long-term fix. But you as the innovator, what you're going to experience is that you will have to spend significant time in in acquiring all the know-how on the matter, on the aspects that you have put your focus on, because unfortunately, most of the people, by the time they actually really get into the heart of how to solve the problem that they've identified, they are no more in high school again. You are not expecting a 20-something-year-old to actually figure out some things. A 20-year-old could think about the technicality successfully, but in terms of the broad implementation, is going to be much bigger than the 20-year-old, because what we see in Silicon Valley is, young guys, just taking over the world. And then in Africa, we kind of assume that it's also that automatic. But I think that you're going to have a situation where a whole lot of young people need to take on small parts of the problem and be prepared to give time to understanding that the solution to that small part of the problem. Sometimes by the time they're even getting to the answer, to the heart of the problem, you can see a lot of them, they're already above 30, they're 35, but you have actually essentially lived 10 years of your life trying to get to the bottom of the problem, before you can even now get to a stage where you understand all the parties involved. Mind you, I mentioned to you that you have a lot of parties involved in bringing your innovation to the market in Africa, in making Africa. So the technology itself is not going to, just having the knowledge of the technology is not the only way into bringing solving the problem. You will need to invest significant time into connecting with all the parties that are involved, in ensuring that technology sees the light of the day and succeeds in the first place. So that's the point I'm trying to make.
Wow. So insightful. Okay, so it still takes us back to the fact that you don't have to. It's good. It's okay to think big, but you shouldn't. You should understand the technicalities of starting small as well.
Yeah.
So that is what I hear you say. And then you said again that as an individual, so don't expect that the solution you are bringing to the table right now is something that might you should get a return like immediately. Some it might take 10 years. So if somebody is in, let's say somebody who is 25 at the time, so if you're starting something, you should be expecting that by the time you are 35, that is when you should be looking, because it then depends on the degree of the problem you are trying to solve. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And then there's one more thing I heard as well. I'm trying to make sure I remember that. So that when you were talking about I'm trying to gather my thought again. Sorry. So when you said as a young person, okay, so you need to think. Okay, I think I'm missing that line right now. I jotted a few things. I don't mind reading from my notes, if you don't mind. So looking into that as a young person, okay, so we should start focusing on the problem that actually matters. Okay, now talking about the finances that you see a lot of people start bringing on just the same solution with different names, the same solution with different names, the same solution, different states, different guys bringing the same solution. That if we keep on doing that, we'll just keep dancing around the problem that nobody is really willing to face the monster. And so facing the monster requires that each of us we need to go back and look into all these problems and see which one you think you want to focus on, not like a kind of a copy and paste model all around. That is what I hear you say, and that is a very valid point. That is a very, very valid point. Thank you so much for that insight. So I'll go quickly again. So while I was reading your bio, I I found out that you've done a number of things, and then I want to quickly go into Store Harmony. All right. So I discovered that it was Store Harmony was battered from trying to solve a problem for a friend, and then over time it has solved the numbers of it has solved problems for a number of over 1,000 other SMEs as well. So, do you want to share with us maybe a back end story of Stamony so that maybe it can encourage someone to?
It's not necessarily today I want to give the whole story, but I will just
Uh,
mention the part. The amazing part about the about Store Harmony is that it was, even like I said, it was like an accidental venture. It wasn't really what I was actually even going to shoot out for when I started out, because I was one of the young guys. I mean, when I was my 20s, early 20s, thereabout, I was my optimism. I had so much of optimism, and I still do, but my optimism was channeled at also the same thing you see a whole lot of young people today. They look at the government, a lot of things are not working, and then you look at all sort of great ideas, and you're like, I mean, these ideas could work, to make Nigeria or Africa, a better place. So you probably want to move quickly to where it matters, and then you go to a place like Abuja, and then you want to, you come up with all sort of ideas, but then you realize that, okay, that ideas alone, tech ideas alone are not is I mean won't cut it, for the country, because everything I've discussed earlier in terms of not just the cost, the aspect of stakeholders, and the time it takes to really understand the problem, all of those factors will come together to decide whether whatever ideas you are taking there will even work, or fail. So he he was just in that quest, of trying to really, be useful. As a young guy, you're just passionate about ideas, and that I ran into a friend that runs a business, and had these challenges, managing their inventory. So for me at that time, because it was a little bit ahead of the time, it was a little bit, ahead of the time of the moment we're in right now, when you see every young person who just comes up with an idea, and then, they are rock stars, and all that. At that moment, you're not even thinking of investment. You're actually thinking of just solving the problem, and, bootstrapping and building the business on the go as you go. So, but again, the whole idea was to provide some form of service, and we, I teamed up with a friend of mine, and then we started to, we came up with, just I had to just put together something, and then somehow, it was deployed for the person to help with the inventory. And what happened next was a friend, another customer that stays close, and requested for the same thing, that, oh, they would like to have a similar product, and then it kind of, we were able to actually get a couple of customers to start with, from there. But what I noticed was that there were some problems that we had along the way, and I would just refer to some of the things that, that, based on what I was saying now, I had to connect with this experience, of mine. Part of it was the fact that, Africa is so deficient in infrastructure that your idea, whatever it is you're going to have to bring to town, you would have to think, that is which is what I started with, talking about the cost of innovation and the challenges the young people you're going to have. You have to not just only think about the problem you're going to solve, you also have to think for the government. You have to think for the deficiency of
Okay,
your
okay.
system. So this is what makes trying to be an innovator in Africa really, really painful. Meaning that you could
Mm,
decide that you want to provide a solution for education, but if only me and you, as young innovators, would only have to worry about building the solution for, to take to the school, it would have been just awesome. But you realize that as you build that solution for education, you're not only thinking about just the student, you're thinking about the teacher, you're thinking about the bad road, you're thinking about the bad lights, you're thinking about the bad internet. You know,
Hmm.
you are putting a whole layer of problems, in
Into
your
your
head
solution.
per time. Yes. So I
Okay.
think this is where it gets really frustrating for a lot of people. And you will see many people after 2 years or 3 years, they just want out. They cut out, find a particular well established industry, and then just pitch their tents there. And then, they make their money and go, or even leave the country, move to other countries, because it is sometimes literally impossible, to have to worry about all that problem. So, but this is exactly what problem solving was like, because we too ran into that situation where we realized that a lot of good ideas we wanted to put in place was just not possible, because an average business has no internet connection. An average business has erratic power supply, and everything you are trying to pitch to them as the benefit of your solution is completely nullified by those two factors, not there. So
Okay.
you understand the depth, yes, of, I mean, the journey that every innovator has to go through, in Africa, to get to how to solve the problem. For example, and there is hope. Maybe when we get there, we'll start to talk about some great ideas, and where I think that ultimately, there's actually a sign, that there is hope. But this is just a
Okay.
part of the journey, and some of the things that, yes, that I mean, that some of the backstory, I think there was a particular customer that we signed up, and you know, it was interesting, because you are setting up, for that customer, and then you actually realize that, as you put the solution there, and then you are leaving the place only to realize that, everything you put there, just, collapses. Why? Because while they try to boot something, never takes light, and before you know it, the system has crashed. And wow, for me, seeing those kind of little examples, I said this is going to be a very tough one. It was going to be extremely tough, because the idea you're trying to put in there just requires certain things that are not there. And so you have two options. You port to other things, or you try to play the long, follow it long term. Oh no.
Wow, wow, wow. So the thing is, the problems we are to fix in Africa is not just something. So it's not enough to just have an idea.
No,
So you
no,
need
you
to
can't.
consider it like
Yeah, you are
randomly.
thinking. You are thinking for your leaders. You are thinking.
Imagine.
You have to think on behalf of your leaders. So we assume that, okay,
Okay.
yes, you say they are there to share money. They are not, really, So yeah. So as an entrepreneur, you have to consider the fact that whatever problem you are trying to solve, you need to think like a president. You need to think like a senator. You need to think like them in the
Okay.
midst of solving the problem. So you understand the brain power you need that you have to put in right now. So this is for me the
Wow.
challenge of every African innovator. Yes.
Okay. 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 Wow. Interesting. So, so thinking as an innovator, like in Africa now, you have to wear different caps. A lot of caps, actually.
A
A lot
lot.
of caps. So it's not just that you wake up and you say, I think I've seen this thing before. I can replicate this as well. You just end up and you see that you start and you fail and you fail and you fail again until you understand all the intricacies of these things. I understand what you're saying. I hear you clearly, sir. And that is what a lot of people has been facing, and a lot of innovation suffers here in Africa. And you can imagine that issue of power. You've given the solution. I know you have a problem as an entrepreneur or as a business. Now I've come to give you a solution, and everything is intact from my own hand, but only for me to get to know that you've scattered the whole thing because of NEPA,
Yeah. Yeah.
because of power. So it's a lot. So you then want to start thinking about, okay, how do we make sure that even there's a power interruption again, and this thing doesn't get, you don't have to start from scratch, and a lot of problem layering over other problems. Then you begin to think, instead of having to give this solution and you want to move to the next thing, you have to come back, you keep coming back because of where we have found ourselves. Well, that is
Yes.
so interesting and it's
And
discouraging at the
just
same
to
time.
like advise any young innovator, that's why I keep using the word like 10 years. It's not that you
Mm,
can't start and come up with an idea, and in 2 years, 3 years, you make a lot of money. We have a lot of opportunities like that, but somehow you will find yourself later, and which is why you see maybe a lot of people doing all these general money transfer programs, money transfer, buy credit, because somehow that system seems to be taking some form, and it's easy to
mm.
build on that, but it's also getting saturated, meaning that to create new genuine wealth, you have to look into areas that are completely out of that space, that nobody is thinking about. That could take you
Okay.
longer to figure out, but if it works, if your plan works and you are able to have a proper business model, I am convinced that there's still a lot of value to create out of Africa, its problem, and its problem solvers. Mhm.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I've learned a number of things here right now. Thank you so much, PDA. So I want to narrow down a little more. So technology for me and for a number of people, like it's like a tool, and I think technology is something that can be used, across board, cross industry, and all that. So in Africa as a continent, I know we've not gotten anywhere close at all, but I know we can get there and we are moving. So how do you think we can? Because um, a few weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, we had someone playing a major player in the agri space, and we said a number of things. He mentioned things around data. He mentioned things about technology, digitizing the business, like you rightly said. So, how do you think technology can be leveraged, across industry? And maybe you want to give a few examples with respect to maybe agri, because I know agri now it's a lot. There's a lot of things going on in the agri space, and people are focusing there too. So how do you think we can use technology to solve all these problems? Technology as a tool solving these problems.
Yeah. So I think when you look at the agri industry, of course, there's a whole lot of growth there. If you've been following most of the trends around that, and where I see that there are where I would not necessarily talk as an agri expert because it's not a field that I've actually practiced. But if I were just to think as a technology person, I think that the growth in the agri sector could, the thing about it is that any aspect of African development that is in need of investment will need technology to help simplify investment, into that space. We'll need technology to improve the trade systems around it, We'll also need technology to manage resources and, if possible, cut wastage, because you are producing
Okay.
things and you need to get what you're producing to the people who need it on time. Otherwise, they will. I mean, there's damages and all that. So, the like I said, facilitating investment for agriculture is a very big deal right now. So, a lot of ideas that actually try to connect farmers with investors is really big on the table. And that is, I mean, we can still have a lot of those kind of initiatives from my thinking, and more importantly, like the aspect of connecting to the market, trade, improving trade, ensuring that the B2B systems, people who buy from these guys can locate the right quantities, have access to the to what is needed, per time. So technology has a way of ensuring that all those end-to-end, cutting the middleman, in required in the corruption in between and all that. There's a whole lot that
Okay.
technology can do when it comes to managing, yes, data in that space. We helping a number of clients who have who produce who have agriculture, who have farms. They have palm kernel and all this rising crops. So what we're looking at there is that if there is a way to actually make it easy to aggregate all those things and create some form of trade system where people who need these things can not just they can get facility credit facility, they can you can connect logistics, you can connect you can connect the retailers, connect logistics, connect so all those areas technically
Yeah.
can automate trade, from all the endpoints, and improve the speed at which delivery takes place. So these are some of the things that I think technology can be used for. But those are still technology in terms of information technology. We've talked about other areas which is actually not technology itself, because you have to now think of automation, how automation works for the average farmer. What kind of machines can we build, that can actually improve the speed at which a farmer can work, and stuff like that. So these are some of the things that science, technology is all required to ensure that we improve the quality of our agriculture sector. So and that's just the one bit. I think the last thing I mentioned was wastage, which is one area that Store Harmony provides services to some customers, because when it comes to wastage, you have data on the the production, you have data on the consumption, you have data on the damages and the waste, and that can help you to slim down your supply chain, cut down production, or cut down distribution to areas that are not in need of what you're producing. So you just want to
Okay.
ensure that you are producing according to what the market is demanding from you.
Requires.
Yes.
Okay.
So these are some of the things that data science and all that can actually work with inventory management to solve those kind of problems. Yes, for the sector.
Okay. Awesome. 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 So, PDA, I was going to talk about this very quickly. I know that at Store Harmony, you've been working on some developments around the system lately, and uh, the development actually encourages a lot of young people to to get into get to work, solving the issue of unemployment here and there. Aside from the fact that you are helping businesses cut their cost, and then help them manage better. So I also see that at Store Harmony there are a number of development now that has come to be that is helping solve the issue of unemployment. I must first of all say thank you very much for that. Well done. Kudos to Store Harmony and your team. So I would like to ask, this is the question: how can maybe you want to share, how can young people leverage on that? Because I know there are a number of young people post COVID, a number of people lost their jobs, a number of people lost even their mind. Yeah, exactly, because of things around them, or somebody who has been their maybe the breadwinner or something. So they are now thinking of, what can I do? Yet I don't have so much skill, but I know that there are a number of benefits that or a number of opportunities for young people at this time, especially in Nigeria. At Store Harmony. So I don't know. Would you like to share some few things about that?
Yeah. What I would say is that, interesting you said that. I was listening to Okonjo Iweala, and this is post-COVID, and what the world needs, a lot of what the world needs right now focuses on trade. The world just needs, systems that can improve buying and selling, because a lot of that slowed down as a result of COVID-19, and we're looking at opportunities to improve trade, to grow the ability of people to buy, and sell. So interestingly, the retail value chain is always valid. It provides opportunity. Growing for us, my vision and my team has been to see African retail really evolve into something that is much more data driven and that is able to allow consumers, customers of businesses get the kind of products they need at the time that they need it, and help the stores themselves to become some form of data point, for helping manufacturers and wholesalers
Okay.
to know how to manage their distribution. So, what is
Okay.
going on is that because of that big problem, there is a lot of opportunity in Store Harmony and what we do, because we enable a lot of young people to learn how to manage data for those businesses. We train you in inventory management. We train you in selling, managing sales, reconciling sales, and really how to help those kind of processes using technology. So when we equip you with that, when we enable you to do that, we already raise your value, in the market. And in fact, we have a system that will place you for a job, in just few weeks, if
Okay.
you
Awesome.
yeah, if you know how to, yes, make use of Store Harmony to help the business manage their data and inventory. So these are opportunities being created by Store Harmony, and
Awesome.
we also envision a time that we can train over 1 million young people who are savvy retail experts, and they are able to connect with the technology, and to help improve the, because let's look at what data does for trade. One of the examples we see today is a place like Amazon. Amazon is built around data because it trains and it enables merchants to push their product to people that need them. So
Okay.
when you have a system where producers are able to push product to the places where people need them, you are able to boost trade. You create a lot of value for both. You are reducing costs for the producers, and then you are also driving up the the economy, ensuring that customers can buy. Like, for example, now the way that works is this: there are certain things that you need to buy right now, but you don't even know where to buy them. It could
Okay.
be a type of shoe, it could be a type of phone, it could be a type of book. But when the system is well digitized, well automated, you will have there will be something, a way for you to get introduced fast, quickly, to where you can pick that up, and you'll be able to spend that money anyway. So when you spend that money, the money goes to the retailer, who takes their profit, and that cost goes to the manufacturer, who has in turn has more money to produce more, and then this is how economies, are revived. So the digital world essentially grows the speed at which that happens, can make
Okay.
buying and selling grow if well implemented. Yes. So you as a trained person that is helping to improve that value chain has a lot of opportunities, at the moment. Yes. And this is exactly what our school, the people we empower, are going to benefit from.
Okay. So this is an opportunity for a lot of young people in Nigeria, especially. I don't know if there's a way. Maybe it has been extended to other African countries, but in Nigeria, if you are in Nigeria, especially Lagos, and you think you need something to be to do at the moment, so Store Money, you can get in touch with them, and I think www.storemoney.com, right? I don't know if I'm correct. I
Yeah,
think I'm right.
that's correct. Yes, that's correct.
So
You can
so
start
you
from
can
there.
begin your journey from there. So there's a lot of opportunity. Trust me, and it's not something that is so hard to start. It's not something that is so difficult to start. And so so that you can quickly get out of this post-COVID, whatever mess it has cost you, or if you just want to improve yourself digitally, or with respect to your skill. Okay, thank you so much, PDA. And we are rounding up. I would like to ask too. Despite all the odds, despite all the things we see in Africa, it seems like we should be the one. We are bringing solution. We are still thinking for the leaders. On how to to implement, on how to make things work. Even we are supposed to be like We are just assisting what the government is doing. But here in Africa, we are actually the one doing the work. The government are just like, if you go ahead. I'm sorry to say that that is what is looking like most of the time. It's just like they are there, we are doing the thinking for them. So despite all these things that we see to be a challenge, and so what still, there must be something that still interests you about the continent of Africa. And I don't know if you would like to share, what are you still hoping for? What are you still looking at? Like, okay, I think there's going to be light, a lot of light at the end of the tunnel in Africa.
Yeah, the African story is really big. I mean, there's a whole lot being said, and I think I am. It's good. Most of the time, it's difficult to understand Africa without going back to where it all started from, and to
Okay.
realize that nobody really gave Africans the opportunity to figure out how they want to live together. It was just
Okay.
a bunch of colonial masters that just you know used biro and paper to just draw margins and boundaries, and and then you have a situation like Nigeria where you have 400 ethnic groups just lumped into one land, and stuff like that.
Mm,
So,
mm,
and and why it's unique for Nigeria is that the more you are around the River Rhine, the coastals, I mean the River Rhine areas, the rainforest and all that, the more you see that more people move towards the water side. So when you just cut a country like that, you have a lot of people of different tribes just mixed into one. So that that has been from that itself has been a big barrier for Africa that has to be overcome. But what we also find out is that there is wealth in diversity, and the fact that Africa has been able to stand so long, especially when you look
mm.
at a place like Nigeria. There's a whole lot of it's comforting to realize that yes, we're still finding very peaceful ways to coexist, in the midst of the challenges. So that itself is offering some form of hope that okay, there may be a plan that Africa can work with if only they can, come to the table and actually spend more time, really talking to each other. So, and this is also another area that technology is helping, to facilitate that conversation. So, because
Yeah.
yes, I mean, if it is possible to unite Africa to leverage on our peaceful, relatively peaceful culture and peaceful, we're a peaceful people. I think there is so much of good, that will come out of Africa, in the near future. But it's going to take time. Every young person must be prepared for some major generational operation, to solve Africa's problem. I mean, whatever it is you are doing today for Shoot for Africa, you want to imagine its impact in 50 years, you want to imagine its impact in 30 years. So every young African needs to believe in Africa, and we need to
That's the
start the
word.
journey. Yes. I mean, you must have a day one. You must have a day one that you begin to create the Africa of your dreams, and for everyone, it starts the very moment you come into the consciousness, that Africa can change for good. Africa can be a force for good. Africa can unite, to actually be a dominant player in the continent of nations across the world. So I know it, like I said, it will take time, but if we continue to sell this vision, this idea to young people, they can embrace that vision and hold it on, pursue it long term, encouraging Africans to come together to leave their differences, and capitalize on the fact that we're a peaceful people, and then use that, to actually build the Africa of our dreams. So that's what I believe, and that's the light I see at the end of the tunnel. The Africans are a peaceful people, and that is going to, be very, very significant in the in going forward. Yeah.
Wow, 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 wow. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, PDA. I was smiling while you were saying all those things, like your closing thoughts and all, because I'm seeing it now. Like everybody now, we are beginning to come to that point where we are seeing it. Like like somebody who the last person, the last guest on the show said, the solution for Africa is right here in Africa. So all we need, like to solve the problem of Africa is here in Africa. So what we just need to do, like you said, is that we need to begin to come into that consciousness that like the solution is right here. We
Mm.
believe in it. And when she said all of that, and from what you just said, like now, is like you've got to personalize the African vision. You have to make it personal. Like it's a personal thing. It's a personal something. Like people say. So personalize it and begin to run with it. And as you do that, don't get discouraged. You will definitely get moments where you feel like turning back, because the problems are so enormous. We shouldn't lie to ourselves. We can't afford to lie to ourselves.
Exactly.
We cannot be thinking like because they did this in America, we should do it here, and you are expecting it to work, because there are a lot of things that are in place already in those places that you are thinking of or you are
Yeah.
comparing yourself with, and that is enabling. We cannot even stress it enough. When we talk about enabling environment, it's still the truth. The environment here is not as enabling as it is over there. So their problems is not our own problem. So what we need to fight with is is like we have a number
Yeah.
of things to battle with when we begin to think about the African continent. But nevertheless, we can we should begin to start small, and begin to understand how to maximize your impact, growing into it, and don't expect that it will happen now. It might likely happen now, but usually things that will last, they don't happen right like now. They
Yeah,
don't
what
happen
can
like
what can happen if you ask me is the there is technology. I don't the thing about mindset is that the mindset takes time to form, and they also take some, that is, there's a place in helping people change how they think, and I also think that there's a miracle to that, where you can actually allow, I mean, give people a kind of systematically help people change the way they think,
yes, yes,
so,
yes,
and
yes,
I think this is possible. Yes, this is exactly where things like this, is part of
exactly.
the solution, where you ask around for ideas, publish those ideas, and continue to encourage the young people to run with those ideas. Yeah, so it's actually very possible to change our direction. We might not get into the solution, might take time, but we could start thinking about that solution. We could get
Okay.
enough people to start thinking about that. Yes, and that itself for me is significant progress.
Wow, it's been such an amazing time with you today, PDA. I really, really, really enjoy. Before this, I've been excited all day. Anyways, I don't know, because I know as usual there's gonna be, and I wasn't disappointed at all. Thank you so much, PDA, for
Thank you
availing
for having
yourself.
me. Yeah,
Yes, thank you so much. And
I hope to be
yeah,
back.
you said, sir, I
I
didn't get
said I
that.
hope to be back some other time.
Definitely, we are going to have a sequel of this. Definitely, because we are monitoring the progress, and we are trying to see how far we can go with this, blocks upon blocks and step upon steps each time. Thank you so very much, and thank you a lot of people for joining in, and we'll see you some other time, and we will say start small and then understand how to scale your impact gradually. Most impacts that you want to make might not come to bear, might not come to the fore immediately, but just keep doing the little you can do. And then don't forget, again, think for your government. Here in Africa, you've got to think for the government. So whatever solution you are bringing on board, think for the government, because you've got to do what you have to do. Thank you so very much, everybody, and I will say goodbye for now. Thank you.